I'm here with Kristi Jacobson, the director of No Accident. So there's a point in this where it took 4 years to bring this whole thing to trial. I get pulled over for, I don't know, lied out, and I got to go to court right away. Why is it that a group of hateful people, hell bent on hurting people, why does it take 4 years to get that trial started, do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question. And as the saying goes, the wheels of justice, as we know, crank very slowly. And in the civil courts, they crank even more slowly. And then on top of that, these defendants were pretty hell bent on not cooperating. And I think, they had some success in delaying the trial date from happening. Also, there was so much evidence that the plaintiff's team, needed a lot of time to pull their case together. And then, of course, there was a global pandemic, which contributed to the delays.
Yeah. Well, I guess I kind of jumped the gun, but also what kind of brought you to this documentary? I'd seen you do like a lot of documentaries, and just kind of what brought you to this one, and also what kind of inspires you to tell the certain stories that you do?
I'm pretty driven to telling stories that will hopefully have an impact in making this country and the world that we live in one that is less oppressive to so many. And I'm also driven by in this case, I was really connected to and inspired by the everyday citizens who participated as plaintiffs in this case, who put themselves out there as named plaintiffs in a lawsuit against these known to them to be violent racists and white supremacists who want the very people who are, named as the plaintiffs to be injured, be hurt, all those things. So I was really intrigued by trying to understand how they did that, because I feel like more of us should be doing more. And I'm one of those. And then kind of watching the lawyers use the law in such what seemed to me a new and important way that could show others that there's when the Department of Justice in that case wasn't holding these men accountable, or when the criminal courts, which have their own problems, aren't doing what they're supposed to do, that there are many different ways we can fight to dismantle white supremacy.
Is there any sort of protections that you know of that help the plaintiffs? We just watched covered a movie called Miranda's Victim, which was the beginning of the Miranda rights, and the woman that was violated by, I think it's Eduardo Miranda. The judge made it a point to have the news not reveal her name, and it's been hidden for a long time. Is there any sort of rights like that, or is that just something like that, just a anomaly?
Well, I wasn't a part of the original filing of the lawsuit, but I do know that you have the option of being a Jane Doe or a John Doe if you're filing a lawsuit. And in this case, these individuals decided to be named, decided to put themselves out there. And that's not without risk.
Yeah. And also so when doing a documentary, there's a bit of responsibility, I think, for a documentarian to, tell the truth, the whole truth as best they can, that it's notwithstanding. What's kind of your thoughts on that? Like your approach to making documentaries?
Yeah. I think, look, I think that documentaries and long-form documentaries, feature documentaries, are incredibly valuable in terms of journalism and democracy, right? We are trying to tell a story that has nuance and is complicated and also exposes a truth that people otherwise didn't know or understand. I feel like in this film, we came into it with, it's hard to like say what this exactly means, but a trauma-informed approach. So when I first met the plaintiffs and we first started talking with the plaintiffs, we talked about how we understood that like participating in this trial was going to be re-traumatizing. They were going to be prepping, as you saw in the film, to testify. They were going to be testifying and reliving this traumatic experience that they had. And so we worked together and decided we would not interview them in addition to that, but that we would try and capture that process as it went along so that we wouldn't add to the trauma or re-traumatizing. And so I guess I'm always trying as a filmmaker to be collaborative in whatever way makes sense on that film. Like I don't really have a like, this is the way I make films, because every film is so completely and totally different. The film I made before this is called Solitary, and I filmed inside of a supermax prison. And so that involved so many different layers. And this involved plaintiffs and defendants and attorneys and depositions and evidence. And so our team just worked really hard to maintain one thing, which was like a commitment to trying to center the plaintiffs and their experience and to not platform the hate that was, essential to telling the story.
Yeah, there was I noticed one point where someone in court was threw out a website or something, and you redacted that. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I love about documentary film, right? Is like it's the truth. I believe everything is fact checked, right? And also it's our take. The filmmakers, we're also sharing another layer of meaning, hopefully for the audience.
How do you maintain your own sanity doing stuff like this? Because like as satisfying as it is to watch some of the racists kind of on the hook and trying to squirm, that's very satisfying. But there's also some, and not just in this, but in other documentaries you've done, there's some real heartbreak, and these are real people. Do you have to like how do you maintain your own sanity through that? And do you like talk to someone, or do you go through like mental health evaluations to make sure that you don't kind of get sucked into the black hole, so to speak?
Yeah. No, I think that, I don't know if I do maintain it.
All right, fair enough.
But mental health care for filmmakers is so important. And I only learned that through my own experience. So I talk to someone, a therapist, regularly. And also the team that I work with, we talk a lot, and we talk about how we can make the film the best film that we can make. And we also, share what we're going through. I also, not unlike Robbie, who says in the film she's very good at repression, I guess I have like a good compartmentalizing skills. So I try to laugh a lot and not like the subjects, as in the topics and the people with whom I'm filming. I take all of that very seriously, but I also try and balance that with like having joy and putting like laughter out into the world to kind of combat that.
Also, there are some techniques, just nerdy filmmaking techniques that you've learned throughout the year. Like, what's something now, film technique wise, that you wish you would have helped you out greatly, when starting out?
We'll always work with Nosheen Databoy, the cinematographer of this film,
There you go.
or an excellent, and an excellent cinematographer. We were in some situations in which, it could have looked average or not less than average. And, she gets in there and kind of looks at the situation. This is a hotel room. We're in here. We're out here, like our vision is like the movie Michael Clayton. And we have, that film with, yeah. So like, that's like what we're dreaming about. And she can like throw, I don't know, some black tape over a light, like move a lamp in that room. And it just goes from like, this is like, to like, this really feels cinematic. Like, for example, that shot with Mike when he was preparing to depose Tyrone, that's one. And, like in these times, people are trying to like shrink the crews. And, I think it's really important to work with talented and experienced cinematographers and have like the proper lenses and gear. And to that end, like, just like, I'm never the smartest person in the room.
Well, you are now.
I try and surround myself by really talented people. And the producers on this film, for example, like just never, we never, like, there were a lot of challenges, as you could see watching it, and just never stopped, never just like accepted, like, no, we just kept going.
Also, so documentaries tend to take years to do because, I guess, I assume once you get the story's ongoing and you have to kind of follow it until you feel that it's done. Has there ever been any documentaries that you've worked on that have come together rather quickly?
No.
Or do they all just all take half a decade at least?
They just seem to never get made quickly. I don't know if you remember the film. It's from a long time ago called Hands on a Hard Body. That film was like, you got to check it out. It was filmed over like 3 days. And I'm always like, why can I not? And it was really deep and compelling and told us a lot about who we are as people. And it did all these things. And they filmed it in 3 days or something like that. But on the other hand, like, I think that I might be drawn to like really going deep into something. And I do think that like, it's kind of like through the shedding of the blood and the sweat and the tears and this is never going to work out. Why is this happening? How are we going to handle this? I feel like it ultimately leads you to be more creative.
Also, you got it says upcoming on IMDb, Won't Be Silent. Is that the only thing you have coming up, or just as we just spoke of, these things take years? Are there like 3, 4, 5 other documentaries on, irons in the fire, so to speak?
Well, I'm really excited about Won't Be Silent, which has been announced and is a film that is looking at women who have, through music and song, resisted and been a part of making, as we discussed earlier, in terms of my passions, just like making the world less, dismantling white supremacy and patriarchy. But like the next feature long-term project, it's like when I'm in it, I'm so in it that like we only just premiered last night to a small group, and it's going to be on in a week from now on HBO. So I'm still kind of like I haven't yet hooked that big one yet. And even if I did, I probably wouldn't be able to talk about it, not because it would be secret, but just because it would still be so unformed.
Yeah, I get you. Speaking of which, it's debuts on HBO and Max October 10th, and that is very soon. I hope this is the weird thing about documentaries like this. Not only do I want people to see it, but stuff like this needs to be put in front of the right eyes, and that's not always the case, and it's kind of sad. But you gotta take your shot and throw it out there and hope it does. And I hope this does well. I hope it's successful, but more important, I hope the right people see it, the ones that need to the most.
Thank you. I do too, and I think that back to when you said, what drives you to make films? Like, I'm always hoping that there is a person who will watch one of my films and have their perspective shift just a little bit. And then that there, that one person is great. I hope that there are more of them, but that's what I hope. And I especially hope on this film that happens.
Yeah. People that are kind of sunk into their beliefs don't hear something and go, oh, I've changed everything. They're like, they still arms crossed, but eventually they go away. And you planted that seed and it just grows, it grows and grows. And eventually they come around.
That's the hope.
I guess just one quick last one. We have a What's in the Box segment. We have people put movies in the box that they feel are underseen and that they would like other people to watch. And I also kind of want to get one movie that you think would make a good double feature for this movie.
Oh, well, I just watched last week at the Woodstock Film Festival a documentary called Stamped, from the Beginning, which is by Roger Ross Williams. It's coming out in theaters, I think, this soon. It's Ibram Kendi's book, Stamped from the Beginning, translated into a really stunning film. So I'd say that.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Kristi, not only for joining me today, but doing this documentary, because these are, like I mentioned, these are stories that need to be told. And filmmakers like you, I greatly respect. So thank you for everything.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
And thank
What
you as
happens?
well, Stephen and Danielle.
Okay.